Lila Morgan's world is built on quiet routines and careful gestures. She is the kind of woman who smooths tablecloths, fills glasses, and measures her words before speaking. On the surface, this dinner is just another family gathering. Laughter echoing through polished walls. Ethan charming his parents with stories of their perfect life. But beneath the surface, something trembles. Lila feels the disconnect in his tone, how every compliment sounds like a script rehearsed for an audience. She smiles anyway, her role well practiced. Yet, behind her calm eyes lies an ache, the haunting awareness of how unseen she's become. When Ethan's phone buzzes, it's a small sound that splits the illusion. He excuses himself smoothly, his voice light, polite, the perfect husband stepping away for a quick work call. But curiosity and unease tug at Lila. She follows, silent as a shadow, her heart heavy with a truth she hasn't yet faced. Then she hears it, his soft murmur, the tenderness that isn't meant for her. I love you too. The words are gentle, almost beautiful, yet they land like shards of glass inside her chest, cutting through years of loyalty and composure. She doesn't cry or confront. Instead, Lila returns to the table, her movements deliberate, her face unchanging. She pours herself another glass of wine, the laughter around her now a distant echo, as if the room has shifted out of focus. Ethan re-enters moments later, all charm and ease, unaware that everything has already changed. The camera lingers on her stillness, the eerie calm before the storm. Her voice, quiet but resonant, carries over the scene. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's the sound of something breaking, quietly. The audience feels it, the beginning of her unraveling. Lila Morgan's life began in the shadow of absence. Her father's departure carved an unspoken rule into her childhood, that love meant endurance, that to be worthy was to bear the weight without complaint. Her mother's mantra, "A good woman sacrifices," became the melody of her growing years. So Lila learned to smile through disappointments, to soothe others before herself, to mistake silence for strength. When she met Ethan, charming, driven, and full of purpose, she saw stability, perhaps even safety. He called her his calm, his balance, his anchor, and she believed that was enough to be loved. Years into marriage, Lila's identity blurred behind Ethan's brilliance. What began as partnership slowly turned into quiet servitude. She planned his dinners, remembered his mother's favorite dessert, handled the home with precision, and somewhere along the way, stopped painting. Her easel gathered dust in the corner, a relic of the woman she used to be. Claire, her longtime friend and quiet mirror of truth, noticed the way Ethan's stories lately included a new name. Rachel, the colleague who just understood his vision. Claire's concern is gentle but pointed. Lila laughs it off, yet inside something uneasy begins to stir. At night, when the house is asleep, Lila writes. Her journal becomes her confessional, a silent rebellion against her own disappearance. The words she pens are fragments of the person she once was, the artist, the dreamer, the woman who used to feel alive. Her therapist once asked her, "When was the last time you did something just for you?" The question lingers like a haunting echo she can't silence. It follows her through the days, whispering between her forced smiles and polite nods, reminding her that she's become the ghost of her own life. The art exhibit was supposed to be a quiet evening, a way to fill another empty space in her calendar. But as Lila wandered through the gallery, surrounded by color and emotion, she felt something stir, a faint pulse of the woman she used to be. That's when she met Noah, a literature professor with kind eyes and a voice that didn't rush. Their conversation began with polite remarks about a painting, but deepened into something more intimate, a discussion about desire, creation, and truth. When he asked, "Do you paint for yourself or for approval?" the question pierced her composure. Over the following weeks, their paths crossed again, first by coincidence, then by quiet intention. Coffee became conversation. Conversation became connection. Noah didn't see her as a caretaker or an accessory to someone else's life. He saw her. He listened when she spoke, noticed when she hesitated. His presence didn't demand, it invited. One evening, under the dim light of a cafe, he said gently, "You deserve to feel alive." The words echoed inside her like a forgotten song, awakening something long buried beneath years of restraint and self-erasure. That night, Lila painted. Her brush moved wildly, urgently, colors colliding into emotion. The piece she titled Desire was raw and alive, a mirror of her rediscovered self. But when Ethan saw it, his laughter was sharp, dismissive. "Too personal," he said, as if intimacy were a flaw. Lila's heart tightened, yet she asked softly, "Would you still love me if I stopped being useful?" His silence spoke louder than cruelty. Later, her voiceover breaks through. "That night I realized I wasn't cheating. I was awakening. It's the quiet turning point. When longing becomes liberation. Ethan's suspicion doesn't come from love. It comes from losing control. He senses Lila slipping away, her silence no longer obedient but distant, her gaze no longer seeking approval. His charm turns to weaponry, gentle gaslighting disguised as concern. He reminds her who pays the bills, who built their perfect life, who tolerated her fragile moods. Each word is a thread meant to pull her back into submission. Yet, instead of guilt, Lila feels anger, not loud but simmering. For the first time, she recognizes the manipulation for what it is. Fear masked as authority. Meanwhile, Noah becomes the quiet voice of possibility. He sees her talent, her hunger, her ache to exist beyond service. When he urges her to submit Desire to an art competition, she hesitates, the weight of her conditioning pressing hard. Then her mother visits, her presence echoing the old gospel of sacrifice. "A woman's desire destroys homes," she warns, the sentence sinking into Lila like a curse from her past. The words reignite the lifelong conflict between duty and selfhood, the belief that to want is to ruin, that to dream is to betray. The tension finally breaks when Ethan accuses her of emotional betrayal. His voice rises, filled with wounded pride, not pain, and Lila, trembling yet steady, answers, "You've been cheating on me for years, not with her, but with your own ego. It's not rage, but revelation." Their separation follows, quiet but final. Alone, Lila begins to breathe again, waking early, painting, rediscovering rhythm. Yet whispers surround her, selfish, shameless, ungrateful. The world punishes women who choose themselves. Standing between freedom and fear, she realizes awakening is lonely, but it's also the only honest way to live. The night of the art competition feels electric, the air heavy with expectation. Lila stands among strangers who know her only through color and canvas, not through silence and sacrifice. When the announcer declares Desire the winning piece, she freezes, not out of disbelief, but out of awe that her truth has been seen. The painting that once lived in secret now hangs under bright lights, bold and unapologetic. Applause swells around her, but what moves her most is the quiet inside. The moment she realizes she no longer needs permission to exist. Her voice, at last, has form. Then, the echo of footsteps. Ethan. He storms through the crowd, face tight with humiliation and rage. "You embarrassed me publicly," he hisses, grabbing her arm as cameras flash. For a moment, the old fear returns, the instinct to appease, to shrink. But then Noah steps forward, his presence calm yet firm. "Let her go," he says. Lila lifts her chin and meets Ethan's eyes. "Let go, Ethan. You don't own me." Her voice doesn't tremble. In that instant, she severs years of emotional bondage. The room stills. She's no longer invisible. She's untouchable. As she steps to the microphone, flashes of memory flood her. Dinners swallowed in silence, dreams abandoned, 1,000 quiet betrayals. Her voice carries steady and soft. "For years, I painted what people wanted to see. Tonight, I painted what my heart needed to say. Sometimes we must do what our desires need, even if it breaks the rules." The applause rises, but she barely hears it. Across the room, her mother stands, tearful, contemplative, before quietly leaving. Hours later, a message arrives. "Maybe I should have followed my desires too." Lila smiles faintly. This is her rebirth, witnessed by the world, blessed by her truth. Lila's life after the divorce begins quietly, without fanfare, but with intention. She moves into a small apartment bathed in sunlight, where each corner feels like her own. The space is modest, yet it hums with possibility, filled with canvases waiting for color and walls that finally reflect her choices. For the first time in years, she organizes her life for herself. Not for Ethan, not for approval, but for the woman she's been rediscovering piece by piece. Even the simplest routines, from brewing morning tea to opening her windows wide, feel like acts of liberation. Teaching art workshops becomes a bridge to connection and purpose. Lila guides other women to find their voices through brushstrokes, encouraging them to paint boldly, without apology. Noah remains present, quietly supportive, never a rescuer, only a mirror reflecting her growth and strength. Together, they walk side by side, laughter and conversation flowing naturally, but Lila's identity is no longer tethered to another person. Each class, each student's breakthrough, reinforces her own journey. Freedom is not the absence of love, but the presence of self, the courage to honor one's desires. Recognition comes gradually, a testament to her authenticity. Her art is no longer hidden. It commands space in galleries, inviting viewers to feel, question, and dream. Lila launches her own gallery, The Desire Studio, a sanctuary for artists and admirers alike. In an interview, she explains her choice. "I didn't leave my marriage for another man. I left it for the woman I used to be." The words resonate widely, a quiet declaration of self-love and reclamation. Lila thrives in solitude and community alike, embodying healing, independence, and the fierce joy of living entirely on her own terms. Months after reclaiming her life, Lila receives a letter from Ethan. The envelope is plain, almost timid, but the words inside cut through the calm she's built. "I thought control was love. I was wrong." For a fleeting moment, memories flicker. The dinners, the silences, the weight of a life lived for someone else. She reads it once, the ink settling into her consciousness without a tremor. Then, deliberately, she folds the letter and places it beneath her newest canvas. Fire consumes the paper, a symbolic ritual of closure. The act is quiet, yet profound. The past dissolving into ash, her final painting captures the essence of her journey. A woman stands barefoot in the rain, her face lifted toward the sky, smiling freely. The strokes are bold, unrestrained, each color a declaration of independence. Noah enters quietly, absorbing the scene. No words, only understanding. Finally, he asks softly, "What will you call it?" Lila pauses, letting the weight of her experience settle. Then, with a calm certainty, she replies, "Freedom." It is both a name and a mantra, a crystallization of years of struggle, self-discovery, and courage. The voiceover carries her reflection. Intimate and liberating. "I used to think doing what I desired was selfish. Now I know. It's how we finally begin to live." As she steps back, laughter spills from her lips, mingling with the sound of rain against the studio windows. It is cathartic, unrestrained, and alive. A stark contrast to the restrained life she once knew. The camera lingers on her joy, the freedom radiating from every movement. Fade out with that laughter, the rain, and the sense that Lila has truly arrived, whole, empowered, and finally unbound.